All right, give me the Ivica Zubac props. You like the over 9.5 points facing the San Antonio Spurs, and one Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs this season are I'm looking. Ooh boy, they are 20th, ranked 20th in opponent points in the paint per game. Give me the cap on Zoo.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of this is the fact that he kind of is going to be matching up, I think, a lot more with Zach Collins, right? And Collins, has his limitations, I think, as a player. He scored 16 points against the Spurs back on October 29th, and he's gone over this line in 4 of his last 5 games against the Spurs as well. So San Antonio just has been relatively weak on the interior over the past 2 seasons. And even though Wemby has been like very good, as like in terms of getting blocks, getting some steals just because of his length. I think that what the Clippers are going to be able to do in terms of their spacing might space him out a little bit even more. And we could see a little bit more opportunities for Zoo on the interior, just with if they're playing like 4 out, basically, especially with Harden now, who kind of likes to have that guy like in the paint that he can dish to pretty easily. I think this is a good opportunity for him to just keep up the volume and keep scoring essentially just in the spot. So I know he just scored 12 games against Houston in his last 12 points in his last game against Houston. And he's kind of been around this number for most of the season, but at 9.5 against the Spurs, who I know he just scored 12 points against the other night. I like him to go over the 9.5 and get into double digits.
Jim, do you have thoughts on that as I prepare my thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a good look. I, to be perfectly honest, was prepping for my pick, so I'm going to throw back to you because I trust
Never
Joe.
let them see
And
behind
so I
the
was
curtain,
prepping for
Jim.
my own.
Never let them see behind the curtain. Yeah, I'll just say this. I think, one, Joe's pretty locked down on props, so these are always pretty good plays in general. The other thing I would say is Russell Westbrook actually has pretty good chemistry with Zoo, and Harden in particular. Like, it's annoying to me because I'm like, you have all these weapons, and like this is what you're reduced to. You're just running Capella, like you're just running Harden Capella with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George being PJ Tucker and Trevor Ariza. Like that's what you've turned this team into. But it works because Harden's really fucking good at running. He's really good at running pick and roll. And Zoo, like you started to see it. I think I first saw it in the Nuggets game. That's one of the reasons I was on the Clippers on the money line versus the Rockets in that game. Was like I knew it was a good spot for the Clippers for a number of reasons, including like Zoo started to figure out like, oh, if I just roll hard to the rim, they have to put 2 on him. And I'm going to have a lob like every single time. Clint Capella had the same thing where he got to Houston and was like, oh, so I just like set a screen, run 4 steps and jump. And I get a bucket like every time. And so I also love this because Wembanyama has really good instincts in terms of one-on-one play, and he's got really good instincts in terms of weak side rotation stuff, but there's only so much that he can do. Now, the question is just going to be like, can they get the lob up over him? Like, that's going to be a real question in this game is like, can they get the lob up over Victor if Victor's guarding Zoo? Like but even then, sometimes Victor doesn't guard Zoo. It's Collins. So you're in a much better spot to be able to get that lob up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of one of those like comedy of errors type of things. Like when you look at this Clippers team, it's like, who are you going to cover? And then nobody moves. Literally just nobody on the team moves. So like Zoo is about like the only player on the team that's like, oh, like if I move, like I can get a bucket. And like, because everybody else just wants to play ISO. There's not like a ton of ball movement or like there is ball movement, but there's not a lot of personnel movement. So that's part of why I like it as well.
Okay. Keldon Johnson over 17.5, Jim. Give me the cap.
Yeah, so this one's relatively straightforward. Honestly, it's that Devin Vassell is listed as doubtful. Now, I will caveat this greatly by saying that Devin Vassell was listed as doubtful about a week ago and then decided to play at the last second. So I don't think this line's going to move a ton. How I'm going to attack it is I'm going to play a little bit now because I think the 17.5 number is pretty soft. I think it's going to move up. But then I'm not going to do my full play. And then when we officially see that out, I'm going to add a little bit more because with Vassell and Johnson, they really eat into each other's usage, and especially the specific field goal attempts they get up per game with the other out. So Keldon goes from scoring 24.6 points per 100 with Vassell on the court to 33.6 with him off. The 4 games that Vassell has been out this season, Keldon's gone for 26, 16, 21, and 22. And that 16 that he got, that was a weird game. They lost the Pacers by about $1 trillion. He only played 23 minutes and didn't take a single three. He typically takes more than 5. So there's a really high floor to this. Ironically, Keldon doesn't have the ceiling that some other players have that I might look for, an escalator, ladder, step stool, whatever you want to call it. So I just like the regular points prop. I'm going to play some of it now with the doubtful in. And then when we get that official out, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll add a little bit more to it as well.
I like it. I think we'll probably start talking a lot more about half plays, quarter plays, and then full plays once we get the injury confirmation.